So we hosted them up, they were here at the Hilton, but we hosted them up at Kennedy Space Center for a dinner one night.
Oh, nice.
And that was good. It was a good chance for them to see, hey, we're not just little Melbourne, we're the Space Coast,
Hey, everybody. Apologies.
Very good, sir. So because we don't have a quorum, my suggestion was that we do this as an operational meeting.
Yep.
If that's okay with everybody, and we'll just, we'll skip the formalities. But I'll just give a quick rundown of what those formalities would normally be. If we had a full quorum, we do roll call, we do welcome and introductions, which we will do that in a second. And then we would kind of just go through the role of the committee, which we'll also do that in a second. And then we would look at the agenda, make sure there's no conflicts with anyone on the agenda, which, like I said, we're not voting, so there's no reason to do that. And then we would normally approve prior meetings minutes, which we will do at the next meeting. And then we would elect a vice chair, which we will also do at the next meeting. So rather than do a roll call, let's just do welcome and introductions. I'm Peter Kranis. I'm the director of the Space Coast Office of Tourism. Been here 7 years now. So always excited to have people come and visit us in our offices. We don't have tons of visitors, but we use this room for committee meetings and things like that. So welcome.
And I'm Laura Beebe. I'm the marketing director.
I'm Pam Rothenberg at Tuckaway Shores Resort in the Atlantic. And I also am, I don't know what the title would be, founder of the South Brevard Tourism Collective.
I'm Chelsea DeSilva. I'm the marketing assistant.
I am Jeanette Jarnes. I have Relentless Equestrian Stables. I do also Relentless Equestrian Foundation, and I have kids that come to me for therapeutic riding and regular lessons. So we've been growing a lot. So sorry that I missed the past, but now I'm kind of in a spot that I can kind of venture out and do more. So
that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
That's cool. Mae Fleming, I am interested in real estate. I'm an indirect procurement officer at a large corporation, and I am an entrepreneur. I'm always just doing something in the community wherever I can.
And you've been on the committee
Maybe 2 years.
30 years.
Yeah,
And Pam, you've been on the committee several years, maybe more than a few.
3 or 4.
3 or 4, yeah. And Tom?
Good morning. Apologies for not being there in person. My name is Tom Hermanson. Ocean Partners Hospitality is our sort of umbrella group. We have several hotels in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. I've been on the TDC for more years than I can count. I'm not sure how many. And very preoccupied with the marketing efforts for the TDC and its impact on tourism. So I would normally be there to give the spiel and answer any questions about history, but we'll do that at the follow-up meeting. And hi, Jeanette.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Danielle Cosme, I work with Ann Barr, so we help Laura and Peter out with any kind of advertising need. Rebecca Essick, I'm also with Ann Barr, so you'll see our faces a lot.
And Christine Selby Regan from the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, head of marketing happenings there. So sorry, a couple minutes late, it was longer than Apple told me.
And Christine's going to be on the committee. We just have to get her approved by the TDC. So hopefully by the next committee, you will be good to go. So we will make sure Wayne does his job. And yeah, well, I would reach, if you wouldn't mind, you could reach out to him. It so happened he was out of town at the last meeting, so he wasn't able to bring your name to the committee, and he forgot to tell me to do it. So I guess we both dropped the ball, but he dropped the ball more than me. Since he's not here, I can say that. Well, that's true. That's true. All right. Yeah, just I mean, a little bit, and Tom, feel free to jump in, but, a little bit about the role and the purpose of the committee. At least since I've been here, the primary role of this committee has been to help, establish and ultimately, greenlight the marketing plan for the next fiscal year. So our fiscal year begins in October. We're just, very early in the budgeting days. We'll start working on the plan over the summer, bring it to the committee for review, usually in the July, August window, somewhere in there, and then it'll go to the Tourist Development Council. They will greenlight it, and then it ultimately goes to the board for approval. That's all, that process is all defined by the state of Florida statutes that guide Tourist Development Council. So ultimately the Board of County Commissioners approves our budget and they approve our marketing plan, but not before the marketing plan sees the committee and then the TDC. So other than that, it's always good to have input and feedback on various different things. We've been doing a lot. You'll hear in a few minutes from us on some of the new creative things that we're doing, some of the new advertising that we're working on, and then who some of our partners have been, some at the table, but some of the partners that have been involved in some of the creative development that we've been going on. But that's basically the purpose of the committee. We only have 3 or 4 meetings a year, because that's usually what it takes to get that process signed off on and finalized. We may do a meeting after we present, after the marketing plan goes to the TDC. We may come back later and have a kind of a year-end meeting just to kind of wrap up and give any updates. But last year I think we ended up canceling that meeting because there just wasn't a whole lot going on. So it really just depends on the timing. But the next meetings are in your packet. We have the next meeting is May 28th. That'll be an important meeting because that's one where we'll be looking for some input and feedback from you guys on for the marketing plan, any ideas, any things that you've seen in the marketplace, things that you think we need to be thinking about, research we might need to do, anything like that. That's always helpful to have the committee give us that feedback. And then August 18th is when we'll come and actually present the plan to the committee, and then, like I said, if there's a need or there's something to get back together about later, we will schedule that. But right now we just have those 2 meetings. So that's the role and the purpose. I asked Laura, I don't know if you want me to start, you want to do it, but just quickly, because there's a couple of new folks, to just quickly go back over this current year plan, right? The one that got approved last year, just to kind of as a quick refresher, just what it is. And then for those of you that are new, if you didn't get a copy of the plan, we'll make sure we get you a copy of the plan. So you have it, you can take it back and kind of noodle through it and see if there's things in there that might prompt you for the May meeting to bring back to us. So I don't know how you want to do it, but.
We can just jump right in.
Okay, go for it.
And we're gonna go through this pretty quickly because like Peter said, most of y'all have seen this. And then I'll have a few like mid-year updates on a few things that were in here and kind of in the works last time, but.
Is it on the left?
And is Tom seeing it? Tom, are you seeing this?
Yep. Yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool.
All right. So, starting with the budget, I don't know, Peter may want to jump in here. This is nothing new. There have been no changes since we last went through this.
Yeah, so I mean, the interesting thing about this slide is always, where we started, look back at 10 years of TDT collections, and, we were below 13 million. And, of course, we keep ratcheting up each year, except for the COVID year, which was, obviously impacted everybody. We kind of fell back to that $13 million level. But then immediately right after that, we just started, jumping up again and, you know, took us to last year, which was our all-time high, nearly 26 billion in collections. Our budget, which is what we submit to the county, as our revenue budget, is 27 million for this year. I won't tell you quite how nervous I am right now about that, but we're seeing some headwinds. Not, you know, it's not any one thing. It's sort of like death by a thousand cuts. We're tracking right now with only 4 months of collection. It's hard to really say because spring break, obviously summer, those 2 seasons are our biggest collection periods. So we don't have any of that yet, but we're tracking about 10% behind, but that could change in 1 month. Like if we have a good month in February, we'll be right back where we need to be. So I'm just a little nervous about things like international travel is down. You know, we hear a lot of stories about international in the news. International travel is just, you know, it's facing some challenges just abroad. People are not as excited about coming to the United States right now. I don't have to go into all the reasons, but you know, it's pretty clear on the news what's happening there. We're you know, it's a little thing. We're at war. That's affecting gas prices. But I just saw the Wawa by me is up to $4 when it was, you know, $2.77 a month and a half ago. So, you know, is that going to affect anything? If it, you know, if it lasts, it could. If it's something that, you know, ultimately gets resolved in the next month or two, then hopefully by summer we'll be back where we were. But, you know, again, things like that affect travel. And so they just, you know, they worry us as an organization, and we'll just have to see how things go. Yes.
How did we finish up last year?
So that's that's
The
oh, I'm sorry.
projected.
Sorry, this was from the plan.
Yeah.
We missed 26 million by about 30 grand, 35 grand. We were really close to 26 million. We were like right there. I was gonna take a collection and say, can we just, you know, get us to 26, because I wanted to say 26, but anyway, we were like 25.9 something. So we were really close. Yep. Sorry, I forgot this was a slide that was put into the plan last year, so not the final, not my current slide of this. Yep. Anyway, so we'll see how we go.
All right, this is how it all breaks down. And a little bit further breakdown there on marketing.
Yeah, and then, by the way, in the plan, in each section, there's budget numbers that kind of break it down even further than that. So you can actually, if you have the plan, or when we give you a copy of the plan, if you don't have it, you can go through it and you can see exactly where all that money gets spent, how it gets allocated from a media perspective, and all of that.
Yeah, and this one's showing how the budget breaks down across the district. So you can see there that District 2 gets 50%, and then the other 4 districts split the remaining. This is disaster fund. I'm just gonna go freeze.
Yeah, just breeze through. I don't think we need to go through all
Right.
the studies and stuff.
Right.
You guys can go back and look at all that stuff, but I think we can just go right into some of the other things. And I wouldn't spend a ton of time on creative because we're gonna be doing a lot of new creative this year. So you guys will get to see all that as we are developing it and over the next few months. So, but there's a lot of good data.
Yeah.
If you're a data geek like I am, there's a lot of good data in the front part of this, as far as like research that we've done with visitors, research we've done on, you know, just like room night demand is a good measurement of how many rooms we're selling, hotel rooms we're selling in a given year. So, you know, we ended up at the end of 25. This was done sort of in the middle of last year, so we didn't have 25 yet, but 2025 ended up being higher than 24, which was nice to see. because we've got more room inventory in the community now than we've ever had. We're over right around 11,500 hotel rooms. And so, you know, one of the things that I look at, one of our big jobs as a tourism office is, you know, you take 11,500 times 365 days a year, that's how many rooms we got to sell, right? And so if we're running at 70% occupancy, that's usually about where we are, and that's kind of tells us what we have to push out into the market. Plus, on top of this, if you keep going, then we also have about 6,500 vacation rental units in the community, and so that's more, again, inventory that we need to make sure that we're selling. And the reason it's important for us is because our budget comes from tourist development tax, so ultimately that drives sort of what we do, right? I mean, we won't have funding if we don't sell rooms, so it's a direct line equation to making sure that we're getting our budget funded.
And I'm gonna skip through these. And I'm gonna go very quickly. You all have seen all of this before. This is,
So all of it, a lot of this, a lot of the creative that you're seeing here, like the Cocoa Beach billboards, those are all being refreshed right now. So we'll have a whole new set of those for the next marketing plan. All the Melbourne and Palm Bay ads are all going to be new because we just worked on a big program with Pam's organization to develop some new creative.
and we're gonna show you some of that.
And you're gonna see some of it, but some of it's still to be developed, but yeah. And then, the digital ads, those are old, so we'll get to those. Some of these you'll see new digital, as we go through, the program. TV, we're actually gonna show you the port commercial that was a storyboard, just a storyboard, and let's meet one, and we'll show you the actual finished commercial today. So that'll be kind of cool to see how that actually panned out. And then we're actually shooting new stuff next month. So we'll be shooting Cocoa Beach and Melbourne Palm Bay creative coming up for TV. So lots of new fun stuff.
Right.
This is one of my favorite slides. This just kind of tells you, you know, where we market and where our audience comes from. And somebody asked me a really good question the other day, which nobody had ever asked me this before. Why is that important? Why is it important to know where people come from? Well, I just use the old adage, fish where the fish are, right? So if New York is delivering a lot of people, then why don't we go to New York and find more people that look like those people that are already coming and market to them? And that's kind of the theory is, you know, if you look on the right side is the top 5 in-state markets. About 40+% of our audience comes from in-state, and then the rest come from everywhere else. You know, a lot of Northeast, Southeast. Some come from Midwest, like Chicago is a big market for us. So we're in Atlanta, New York, DC, Charlotte, Philly, Chicago. Not as much Boston. Boston, we were doing more in 2 years ago, but it's an expensive market and we haven't done as much there, but that's a market that we'd like to do more in. But the question I always answer with this is, do we have enough money to do the marketing that is necessary to promote our area? And so my answer is always, I think we do a great job, you know, obviously I have to say, and I believe we do a great job of marketing. We market to the destinations that are origin markets, that, you know, are in the top tier of our origin markets. But there's a lot of markets that we're not in, and that's because our money will only go so far. So media dollars, you know, trail off, and you can only be in so many markets buying media because media is expensive. And so, you know, if we were to get more money, I think that's the opportunity for the county is ultimately growing TDT so that we can do more marketing in these markets that are not highlighted. So that's always my comment when people ask me, you know, how high is up and how much is enough for marketing? Well, there's a lot more markets that are clearly interested in coming here, clearly delivering delivering people to come here, and we could go and get more people if we have more money. So that's my spiel for that.
Before you switch, that's 24, international source markets? Did you see the shift? I mean, Canada dropping and what?
Yeah, I don't have so for the next marketing plans, we start to work on it. I'll get 2025 data from Visit. Most of that comes from Visit Orlando because they come through Orlando, most of them. So that's where I get my data from. Canada will still be number one. It won't be 1.3 million. It's probably going to be, more like 1 million or a little bit less because they're down about 15%, 20%, something like that right now. UK is down a little bit, mostly economic stuff. So, we'll have to see what the new numbers are, but I think UK will be down slightly, but it'll still be in second place. And then, because it's really, they're 1-2. Oh, they're always 1-2, regardless of what's going on. And then Germany and Ireland, we don't get data for Ireland, so I don't have exact numbers, but if you talk to Aer Lingus, which is the big carrier, you can usually get a feel for what that is. So, yeah.
So when Howard would come, did you share kind of information back and forth, but what we were saying?
He would share some things with me on the international front. I know you guys are heavy international, so you have probably even more data that we would love to hear what you're seeing. Yeah.
Like Germany, over there said, you might want to lower your spending tier this year.
Yeah. And in fact, we ended up doing that. So in the marketing plan last year, we saw, the writing on the wall, and we had already determined we were going to spend less in the international market than we had previously. And where that came out of was places like Germany, Canada, things like that. Now we still have representation in the international market because it's very important to have a face out over there. So we have a representative that lives in the UK that goes and does a lot of travel agent and travel tour operator kind of training, and attends like trade shows and does a lot of education and kind of keeps our face out there. And then we do some advertising, joint advertising with TUI, which we've been doing as long as they've had the contract with the airport for the last 4 years. This year, for the first time, we're doing some additional advertising with some other tour operators, and we'll get in. Like I said, when we get into the marketing plan, we'll bring that into the mix a little bit. And we're also working with an operator in Ireland, Tour America. That's a big carrier they work with Aer Lingus, and they bring a lot of passengers over, and they're wanting to expand their inventory over here in the Space Coast. So we've been working with them for the last couple of years. So there's some sort of co-op kinds of programming that we're doing. We also partner with Brand USA, which is obviously they're the destination marketer for the world for the USA. And Visit Florida does a lot of things also abroad, and we work very closely with them. So we do most of our international advertising is leveraged with partners. So, I won't say it's 1-to-1, but it's pretty close to 1-to-1. If we spend $500,000-$600,000 this year, it's probably more like 1.2 million in advertising, because we're working with partners and they're contributing to the pot as well, which is nice. It's nice to have partners in that world because it is expensive to go into some of these markets. But the market that is, from an advertising point of view, that's the most significantly hurt by what's going on right now in the international world is Canada, because we started a campaign last year over there, got a lot of negative reaction, and ended up pulling it and saying, you know what, this is not probably the best time to spend a lot of money up there. Let's kind of pull back, wait and see what happens. So I'm beginning to hear some positives, but I just think as long as right now probably isn't the time, maybe in the next year or two we go back, but yeah, it's probably not the right time right this moment.
We did started running search campaigns for Canada. It's October, turning it on October-ish.
Yep.
And then running it till February, March, depending on when we were.
Did you get any
speaking.
feedback from it or?
It actually did okay this year.
Okay,
We had to cut it off early last year. so-
right, that, we were the same boat, we got a lot of negative feedback.
The year
here.
before
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
and, you know, great.
Right,
return,
right.
whereas, this year, decent. Now, we turned it off in February, so it did start a little bit earlier than we would have, we had, you know,
Yeah,
24.
yeah,
24, we went all the way through into March.
Yeah.
And then it dropped off, so
Yeah.
it was doing okay. And I think honestly, right, you see something gets said, something
Yeah,
blows up.
it
and then all
just
of a sudden
takes
it's like,
one little thing in the news, yeah, and the one thing in the news and it just goes to,
Right.
yeah, and right now with things going on in Iran, it's not, yeah, I would not do anything right now. Yeah,
Has TUI noticed a decline in, passengers?
well, so TUI's not flying right this moment, but last
Right,
season they were
yeah.
down. So last season that they flew, they were down, yes, and their feeling, I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but this was their feedback to us because we're gonna, we're about to ramp up, we're gonna spend another 200,000 with them and they're gonna match it with 200,000. So it's a $400,000 campaign that we run together. And their flights are beginning now. So they're just, you know, they're just starting. So we'll see how it goes. But last year, their feeling was it had more to do with exchange rates and the economy than anything like political kind of stuff. They didn't feel like that was as big a factor. I still feel like politics is always a factor because I live in a political world. I work for the
Right.
county. You know, my bosses are, you know, political. So I kind of think that everything does have a little bit of that undertone. But I think in the UK, it's probably true that, you know, they still love America. They still want to come here. They want to go to Disney. They want to, you know, they want to do the iconic things because that's a bucket list item for them. So one of the things that we're trying with TUI is to get more passengers to either come here as a, you know, do like a 2-part vacation where they do the Disney Universal kind of experience in Orlando, but then they spend whatever it might be, 3, 4, 5 nights here as part of that, or even consider staying here and then just going back and forth, which is obviously something we always want to promote. So that's kind of the messaging, and that's what we're trying to do with them. But they had cut a route last year. I think that route's coming back this year. I think one of the markets that they cut is going to come back this year. So we'll just have to see. But they've kind of trailed off the last couple of years, and so we're just keeping an eye on it. And we're not spending quite as much with them as we had previously. It's one of the reasons that we're wanting to work with some other tour operators because we think there might be some other operators that you know are also delivering inventory. They have inventory here. That's one of the requirements to get co-op money from us is they have to have Space Coast inventory, not just Orlando inventory, but they're delivering a lot of people through MCO, through the airport over there. So, you know, that's our strategy right now is to kind of keep an eye on TUI. We want to keep supporting them. Obviously they fly into our airport, so that's important, but we're beginning to kind of expand out and try some other things with some other operators. So, Tom Bartusek, who's been on our team for many moons, he handles the travel industry side of things. We're going down to IPW in May. And IPW is an international show. It's all international operators, you know, from basically all over the world. But we're going to focus on Europe primarily and also Canada. And that's going to give us a lot of insight because we actually meet one-on-one with the representatives from these organizations. And then we get to talk to them about who we are, what we do, and then kind of see where they are and what they see in the market. And so it's really a very, very insightful. And we haven't been for a couple of years because the way IPW is run by the United States Travel Association, USTA.
Powwow?
It used to be Powwow, yeah. They just call it IPW now. They felt like Powwow was politically incorrect, so they changed the name a few years back. But yeah, they usually do an East Coast show, and then the next year they do a West Coast. So we don't go to the West Coast, but it's back here in it's actually in Lauderdale this year, so Tom and I will be down there trying to, glean what's happening in the market, and I think that's gonna inform our marketing plan quite well, so. Sorry, Laura, I'm
That's
taking
all right. That's all
all
right.
your steam.
I think it's important to add in that discussion that, historically travelers to Florida internationally is still a small percentage. I think it hovers 4 to 5%, and half of those are Canadian.
Right, and
So-
even Orlando doesn't see, maybe a little bit more than that, but not much more so. I mean, we're sort of a microcosm of that Orlando market when it comes to international, but yeah, we don't think it's much more than 5%, but they tend to spend money and, they stay longer, they like to do stuff, so it's still a good market for us, but yeah, like I said, I mean, I think our budget this year is 650,000, maybe something like that. And, our total budget's like 12 million. So you just see it's not as big a percentage of the overall budget.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Can you just go back for a second, so this is sort of our year, and I don't think this is gonna change a huge amount as we go into next fiscal, but, we'll always look at it. But, we have a fall campaign, it's a smaller campaign, it's, not as many people travel in the fall as back to school and that kind of thing. We have a pretty heavy family audience, so we put money into it. The last few years, we've tried to put more pressure against January, because we feel like, if you look at South Florida, this is how I always look at it. You go to South Florida in January, it's packed, right? It's all northerners who are getting out of the cold, a lot of snowbirds, and a lot of them own property there too, but it's also just a lot of people just come down for a week or 2 weeks just to get out of that cold weather. I feel like that has not translated as much coming this far north, even though, January is a perfectly great time to be here. So we've put a little more pressure against January the last 2 years. Last year, we saw a big bump. This year, we just got TDT. We did not see a bump, but I think there was a lot of other factors going on. So, it's just something we'll have to analyze, something to look at. Spring break and summer are our big seasons. Those are the two that we put, the most amount of money towards, certainly a good amount in February, March, going into April, because Easter, if Easter falls in April, we want to cover that. And then May, June, July, a little bit into August as we go into the summer months as far as when we spend our marketing. And then we've got things, going on throughout the year, of course. We've got billboards and, signs at the airport and, Google ads and Facebook ads and things that we run just year round. Certainly our social media and all of that goes year round. But the campaigns are where the big spending is. And you'll see that on these slides. So this is where the budget gets laid out. So that was the budget last year, with a little over a little over 5.5 million on media just for the campaigns. And then, by the way, also you'll see in this plan, all our vendors, everybody that we do business with, we put in here, because then once the board approves it, then I don't have to go out and do a procurement project for each of them. So it's basically the board blesses it, and then we can go and contract with everybody.
And this really is just a repeat of the previous year. The numbers may change slightly, and we have some new efforts that will roll in and roll out from year to year.
So that's like all our creative production, content, and then social media things on the next slide. And website, one of the things we're looking at, Laura can talk about, but AI is a thing now. trying to figure out how that will play with our website.
Yeah, we've got a slide for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going. Sorry.
There it is.
There
right
it is.
there. So,
I
yeah,
got you up.
yeah. So when we actually made this plan last year, we were looking at, SEO for AI and all of that. That was kind of the first line of defense. So we started actively trying to improve our performance on our website for that. We were also looking at.
Just, I don't know if everybody's as familiar with how Google works, but what you're seeing now is if you do a Google search, the AI result is coming at the top, right? So the AI result is precluding people from clicking to people's websites, including ours. So the answer to that, ultimately, it's a bit of an uphill battle, but the answer to that is to be able to integrate enough content in our website so that it gets picked up in their AI result, right? So because what AI does, their AI does is based on ChatGPT, pretty much similar. It goes out across the internet, looks at the sites that have a lot of traffic, right, based on the
Well, you want
content.
your site to be the.
And we
expert,
want, right, we want us to be the expert. So that's what we started last year. But now we're gonna go a step farther, which
Yeah.
Laura's gonna talk about.
Yeah, we considered actually redesigning our website so it would be more AI friendly. But we kind of stumbled upon some AI widgets that we can fold into our existing site. So that's kind of the path we're planning at this point. We're still investigating that, but a lot of great benefits. It gives you all the functionality of AI on your website, but it doesn't go outside of your website.
Right.
So you're redirecting all of that traffic into your own site.
I would think of it as if create a FAQ list
Right.
and answer those questions and
Yeah,
That's a big
however
part of
you
it.
choose to do it, integrate it
right.
into the website.
And that's what, when we started focusing on content, that was a lot of it. We added FAQs and then we started using more natural language
Mhm.
because that's what AI is really picking up on now. So that has paid off in dividends already just for organic.
And you can use AI, or at least I did. I used AI to come up with the questions.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah. Totally can. Yeah, the other thing is that we're seeing what Brand USA and Visit Florida's sites, they've incorporated AI. The company that they used is who we're actually talking to about doing our widget. So we're in good company in terms of who we're trying to get to help us with that. And I was thinking it was going to be 6+ figures, and so far it does. I'm just knock wood. I hate to say it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as expensive as we thought, which is nice. So hopefully we can start working on that as soon as we get into the next fiscal.
Are you on a WordPress platform?
Yeah, we're on WordPress. Yeah.
What are you putting, like a chat agent in?
It's similar, but it's not chat.
No, but an AI.
Yeah.
Right, we're getting ready to roll on it.
It's really dynamic. It'll create itineraries. You can say, I'm coming for 4 days on these dates, and I have 2 kids these days. It will lay out a perfect travel plan. It's awesome.
No, so we are getting ready. I mean, we do have itineraries, which we've expanded it.
Right.
Kind of. You've done more human language rather than just, you can still go through and answer some questions
Right.
and spit one out to you, but we are putting in the AI agent through Clarity, which is a platform that we have access to. I mean, one of the benefits is having some of those enterprise things, but I am always nagging and saying, are we making sure that we're showing up?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta be in the top, whatever.
Just recently, one of our current marketing stack providers has an add-on that we just started, AI listening. So similar to social listening, we can see how many times we're being referenced by AI and, watch our rankings. We can see the kinds of questions people are asking, and it helps drive what our content should be. it's a fast moving target right now. There's a lot of changes going on.
That's a fact, especially with it kind of shifting and there's different ones,
Absolutely.
under play, but.
So this is a fun topic. So we are literally in the middle of an RFQ for a PR firm right now. So we're hopefully in the next month, the 45 days, we'll be selecting an agency to work with and contracting with them. So we've been with the same agency for 7 or 8, well, longer than me. So like 8 or 9 years. So we just felt it was time to kind of open it up and see what else is out there. So we did get 9, I think was how many 9 folks submissions, and now we've narrowed it down to 4 finalists, which our current agency is one of, but there's 3 new ones that we're excited to kind of see what their ideas are. So PR is a big, to me, PR is a big thing because you can generate a lot of media impressions at a very reasonable cost. It's not like buying advertising. It's a lot less expensive, and how people are consuming media these days, the credibility level of it is very good. And, so when we get hits like when Condé Nast does a story, or they give us a top 10 ranking, or even some cases they've given us the #1 ranking on certain things, that gets picked up and carried many tens of thousands of times, and that's great media coverage for us that we don't really pay for, other than having to pay for the PR firm. So we like this kind of marketing. It's just finding the right, make sure we have the right partner going forward. So we'll keep you posted on that.
All right, well,
Yeah.
our Moon Pie partnership did not take off. Moon Pie has actually backed out of partnership temporarily from what we're hearing. So we're hopeful one day that may come back. We've looked at some others like Johnny Rocket. There's some opportunity there, and it's something we
Trying to find partners that make logical
right.
brand sense for us.
Johnny Rockets kind of like a bomb pop. Is it?
No,
like-
it's a restaurant. Yeah. No, it's burgers and fries and like kind of a.
But there are none here, right?
Yeah.
There's one in Orlando.
Here.
Yeah, no, there's none here in Brevard, but we don't care. We want the media impressions
Right.
outside the market. We want to partner with them where they are, because those are the people that'll,
And Moon
hopefully
Pie
come
is
here.
very much a Southeast kind of brand, so it fits really well with who we're targeting.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful that'll work out. You want to talk about sports?
I don't think there's a ton to say on the sports commission side. We're gonna continue with our marketing support program, which is our cultural and sports grants. And that drives a lot of our business, but also, Terry, who's our sports commissioner, Terry Parks, he's always worked in this market. He goes to a lot of shows. He tries to talk to a lot of baseball coaches, softball, soccer. He's always out there trying, rowing coaches, anybody that could potentially come here and use our assets. He's always working with the assets that we have here, like the fields and all the parks and all of those things. And then he tries to bring teams here to do, whether it be training or tournaments or things like that. So we generated, I want to say it was about 18 to 20,000 room nights in this area last year. And then of course we also have a contract with USSSA. They generated about 90,000 room nights out of USSSA. They operate our stadium for us, and that's just bringing people in from outside the area to participate in games.
Have they been meeting their contract obligations, Peter?
They fell, so I think the way the contract works is they have to hit 100, but if they don't hit 100, then there's some penalties that they incur, and they've never quite hit 100. They were at like 85 or 90 this year. So they're, you know, they're right there, they're close, but they've never exceeded the contract level. But nevertheless, they still, you know, they still get support in the form of what we call capital maintenance. So we help them maintain the fields, and the big expense we gotta think about in a couple of years is all the AstroTurf. They have 15 fields out there on the property, and the AstroTurf is starting to wear, so we're talking with them about how we're gonna handle that, because that's gonna be a big expense in the tunes of millions of dollars. AstroTurf is not cheap, but because of its nature, especially down here when it rains all summer, it's a very quick draining and quick drying tool that gets them back playing again very quickly. And it's one of the reasons they have as many events down here during the summer as they do, is because of the turf. So, you know, a lot of people ask, well, why don't we just go to grass, which isn't quite as expensive up front? Well, the problem is the maintenance of that over time is more expensive, and probably not as attractive for a lot of the teams that fly down here. So we gotta replace the turf, which is, we'll figure that out at some point.
That's just some of the digital ads we do for sports.
We talked international and keep going, travel industry, you know.
And you'll remember last time we met, we talked a little bit about the blitz that we had for planning. We completed that blitz in February. So Peter and Tom went up to Charlotte. We had a couple of travel advisor training events that were very well attended. We trained 103 travel advisors. Peter was interviewed on Positively Charlotte. It's a morning news show up there. We also did a podcast that just got released. So we just heard
we'll send the link to
today.
the podcast. That was kind of fun. Yeah, we work with the local Fox station up there, and they gave us a lot of coverage. That was nice.
Ambar helped us we kind of heavied up on advertising up there during that period, and did a lot of out of home. So there was a lot of digital billboards around town. So very well received. We learned a few things along the way, but we want to do something similar next year, and we're thinking maybe.
So yeah, that's something that, you know, again, it was first year we've done something quite to this extent, and felt very positive about it. Talked with a lot of our partners. We had 5 or 6 hotel partners with us. We had a couple of cruise lines came with us and did some things with us, and an astronaut, and which
Runs with the astronaut.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get good coverage out of that too.
Yeah, and so we felt good about it, and so that'll likely make the marketing plan again for next year.
We've done heavier marketing in Atlanta areas, in the Atlanta.
Yeah, I was talking to Rutson about that, and he thought Atlanta would be good. So, a lot of media opportunity
Right
there.
time of year too. I mean, because I think last year they went all year long, and that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, heavy up right before the
there, so,
spring season. Yeah. Cool. So this is a newer area for us, and we're getting very excited and ramping up. And if you look out the window to the left, you will see why. There's going to be a 25,000 square foot convention center space right across the street from us. And so, you know, that's obviously the new news for our destination, and we're talking it up quite a bit. But this is an area where we're going to devote some marketing dollars, some staffing potentially, which I'll have more to talk about when we present the marketing plan. Which once we go through our budgeting process, we'll see. But we'd like to, you know, add some different things here, including some things in the marketing plan to support a staff member potentially, and actually go to some conferences, and, you know, really start talking to meeting planners. We're already on Cvent. Cvent is a infrastructural software tool that meeting planners use when they are looking for where they want to hold their conferences. we have already won, I wanna say it's like 4 different awards of conferences through CVent, so it's already paid for itself. Because when those people come, they bring people and they spend money, and you know, it's definitely a cool area, so good ROI, I should say. But anyway, this is an area that will step up in the marketing plan next year, so you'll see that happening. VIC, we always do something there, research, we always need. And this other, yeah, but that's the rest of the
Yeah.
plan, so.
One thing I wanted to add is we have launched an America 250 campaign. You didn't see that in the plan, but that was something we had been thinking about last year and really just implemented about 4 weeks ago. So we've got a landing page out there. We're doing some advertising. We created a gamified trail. So anybody who visits 5 or more of the points of interest on the trail will get a mission pass.
Oh,
Yeah.
Get more
It's a cool
Yeah.
patch too.
It is.
And you know, there's the patches.
Yeah.
Patches, but yeah, it's a really cool patch. Yeah, we just signed a contract with Banwango, which is the software tool that allows us to create trails. So we have like an ice cream trail, we have a beer trail, we have a museum trail, now we have America 250 trail. So there's others that we want to create. So now we have a partnership with them to do that. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
The semi-quincentennial. I finally learned how to say that.
with American 250 because we've had to say we cannot go near it.
Yeah, because it has to do with the Department of State and all that. Yeah, so through Visit Florida, we're partners. So
Okay.
we're actually listed. So Visit Florida is the official, as far as Florida goes, they're the official partner, but we're a sub partner and we're featured. They just did a TV show and a docuseries about it, and we're one of the featured destinations. So yes, because I mean, I met the new Visit Florida has a new president and CEO, and I met him at last year's governor's conference. And I said, what better place to celebrate America 250 than the home of American spaceflight and the home of, where astronauts launched to the moon and shuttle program and the ISS and are launching back to the moon now. So he 100% agreed, and that seems to have opened up that door with them, which was really nice. So we got fortunate there, but yeah, there's a number of states that are trying to, leverage it in different ways, and we're working with them to do that.
So we're working just as an FYI, because NASA is using the Freedom 250. But we didn't want to for a couple of reasons. One, political.
Yeah, yeah,
2, that's very event-based.
right.
So, it's not, so we have been playing back and forth. I'll just show you this, but we did some research, we had our own idea out there, so on and so forth. We just found out that actually the American 250 group trademarked 250. So we were thinking if we could get 50% and get 2 of them, 250. We're actually, this is the latest one, we're going in back and forth with legal to see if we can use that, because we wanted to put something in, right?
Yeah.
Signage, flags, because we are gonna have events this summer.
Yeah, as soon as you know what those events are, we want to put them on.
We've got the sketchy part right now, but
Okay.
yeah, we will get you those. But, so if we get okay on this, I'll just share it out.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, no, we are using the official logo, so we're allowed to do that.
But yes, and then we're partnering with the Smithsonian Media for
Okay,
their America 250.
okay,
Which so if you can talk about us, we can't talk about us.
got it. We'll always talk about you guys. You're a big part of our messaging, so. All right, so the next item, we're gonna show some new creative. I just wanted to, before we jump completely into the creative part, can you? Yeah, well, doesn't matter. Yeah, before we actually show the creative, I wanted to share a little bit about branding and our brand efforts the last couple of years. A few years ago, the EDC came to us and asked if we would help them with their branding efforts. They wanted to come up with a Brevard County brand for corporate and workforce purposes. So people that are looking to maybe move here, or people for work, or people that are looking to relocate businesses here. They wanted to have a brand, and they wanted it to be aligned with us. And, totally makes sense. I mean, here we are spending millions of dollars on advertising, trying to drive people to come here to visit. They don't have that kind of budget, but they didn't want to be spending money and then not having the right messaging. So actually, Anbar was our agency partner that worked with their committee, their branding committee, and we developed where they landed was to use the name Space Coast. Tomorrow launches here. That's sort of the tag. So Space Coast is the brand. That's what they're promoting. They're not talking about Brevard County anymore. They're talking about Space Coast, which perfectly aligns with where we had been headed before, and are headed again with some of our new branding efforts. And then Tomorrow Launches Here was sort of the tagline that they're using on their advertising. So you'll see that's again a B2B target and then a workforce target. So very, very much kind of that lane. On the tourism side, we've been working with Cocoa Beach Hotel Association and that group for a couple of years now, and they liked what was done for the EDC, so we ended up partnering with them, and Tom's been part of these discussions to develop some new creative and new branding. So we did some research, we've done a number of different creative executions, which we'll talk about in a second. And then, basically started evolving that program. And so we're right in the midst of development of all of that. And then Pam and her South Brevard group came to us and said, how do we work more closely together? How do we work better together with you guys? Could we do something together? And so, not quite a year ago, maybe less than a year ago, we got together and
Actually, it's a little over.
Oh, it's over a year because it was fall of 24, right? Yeah, so a little over a year ago, we got together and started talking, and they let us know that they were very interested in working with Melbourne and Palm Bay jointly to help to work with us to develop messaging, creative, advertising, all of that. So same thing, we did the same process that we'd done for the EDC in Cocoa Beach. We did some research and analysis, and then we again work with Anbar to work through their process. And that process is very interesting because once you sort of figure out like why are people coming to a particular area, what's motivating them, what are they interested in, the way the agency works is they develop a brand essence, a brand story. They develop, they use what they call a Jungian chart, which is a Carl Jung, if you know Carl Jung of psychology fame. He's got a chart of motivations, things that motivate people. And they look at all of this stuff. They come up with a brand personality, people that get associated with the brand. And then out of that, they develop this brand story that then is turned into advertising creative. So that's what led up to the creative that you're going to see. What I wanted to mention, which I thought was really interesting, is Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Palm Bay, very different, interestingly, motivators and personality types. And even though, of course, all of this is going to fall under the Space Coast brand, Florida Space Coast is the ultimate payoff, just like it is in the EDC creative. But messaging and targets a little different. So Cocoa Beach, as you can imagine, very steeped in history, surfing, sort of that surf culture, a little bit of that old, kind of that old beach culture that you often see. Very family, very active, obviously a true tourist destination with a lot of activities, a lot of things to do, all of that. So surfing and history and all that stuff kind of is what drove a lot of the creative messaging. Well, Melbourne, little different, a little more relaxed, a little more laid back, a little quieter. Interestingly, more couples versus families, although families go there, but more couples, a lot of loyalty among the audience that we talked to. We did consumer research and they were very loyal to not only to the Melbourne Palm Bay brands, but also to the accommodations. Like they like to go back to that same place that they came to again and again. So that was very interesting. So again, a little bit, when you think maybe, Cocoa Beach is a little more Kelly Slater, Melbourne and Palm Bay's a little more laid back, a little more kind of relaxed kind of vibe. So hopefully some of that will show up. We don't have, TV's not executed yet. We've got storyboards for both, but Lauren will take us through that.
And really, before we start looking at these, for the last couple of years, we've really tried to focus on each municipality and what makes them unique. So this is just like the second iteration of taking it one. So this is an example. We're finalizing branding, the word mark there for Cocoa Beach, but it'll be something similar to this. And this is how it will play out. The colors that were selected are just a muted version of our Space Coast color palette, just to kind of give that vibe, surf town.
And then the Florida Space Coast, you'll see if you look, hard to see maybe in the ad, but there's a rocket that goes up from the P through the I. Florida, so we've incorporated that in there. So that basically is what the EDC is using, but the rocket is ours. So we kind of added that element.
The wave element you'll see throughout.
Yeah, you'll see certain things that make it like, oh, it does look similar, but it's a family of ads, but they have their own unique sort of spin to them.
Okay. Will you try?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
All right. So this is storyboard, and we've shared some of this before.
I think
Last meeting.
yeah, I don't think it was quite. This has evolved a little bit. Yeah.
So what you're going to see throughout this is, really focusing in on the emotion of the people in the destination. You can't really see it all here, and there's a second page I'll show you, but it will, yes, thank you. It will zoom out so that you can see what they're excited about, what they're doing in the destination. And then you'll see here on the end screen, the wave kind of flows in, that's going to be animated, and it'll reveal the copy there at the end. So we're getting really close to that. I'm good about that. All right, thank you. I keep trying. And then here's how it plays out for Melbourne at the beach.
Again, a little bit more couples focus versus kids.
Okay. And again, it's the same kind of feel for this TV spot. Of course, the attractions and the things they're doing in the destination are going to be slightly different because these people are not as excited as the ones.
They will be when we shoot it though. We will make sure they are. Yeah, I mean, so things like fishing, which is very, specific to Palm Bay, very.
Or my beach, we get a ton of people fishing.
Yeah, okay, so fishing, and then, of course, the zoo, which is in Melbourne, so,
And always a rocket launch. We always have to.
Yeah, so again,
Yep.
the end branding is ultimately there as far as the wraparound branding, but just a little bit of a different, maybe look and feel. And,
All right, and this is our new port.
so this effort, we have been working with the port, for many years. They have a new positioning that they want to make sure, got messaged out there. And that is best port ever. So we all know they are now, we just surpassed Miami as the #1 cruise port in the world. So, that was part of it, but it was really about making sure that we get a little bit of what they were interested in from their branding perspective, but also talk about the importance of, pairing a cruise with an experience here in the Space Coast. So that's what this is.
This is our biggest target for the next year or two. If we're going to sea trade even, down in Miami, Tommy, both from B2B and B2C. What the opportunity would be.
It's easy to see why travelers say that Port Canaveral is the best port ever. Breezing through welcoming terminals onto the world's newest ships, setting sail, and then keeping the adventure going when you step back on shore. With waterfront dining, breathtaking rocket launches, family-friendly activities, and legendary Cocoa Beach right next door, your cruise is just the beginning of your trip to Florida's Space Coast.
So this was paid for out of the Cocoa Beach portion of the ad, which is out of the marketing budget, which is why they're featured in that. So, but that was, I think that ultimately it benefits everyone, because I think we all know when you have 4 or 5 million people going through the port, they're going to stay all up and down the coast. So, yeah, so that's kind of where we are creative wise. And then, we talked a little bit about some hints about things that we want to embellish as we get into the marketing plan drafting, but really obviously look forward to having everybody, here at the next meeting and giving us their thoughts, ideas, feedback, anything that you guys think of that we need to be thinking about or incorporating into the plan. That would be the time to do that. And then Laura and I spend typically the summer, that's how we spend our summer vacation. We write the plan and then we'll bring it back to you guys. Yeah, it's usually a few iterations there, but I feel good that we're on a good path. That's really more about, elevating and just trying to find ways to make it a little better. Just, always trying to improve. And there's some new things, like I said, in meetings and conventions and AI stuff, and something will come up, I'm sure, between now and August that will be like, oh, you know what, we need to put that in there because that's something new. So, any thoughts, questions, Tom? Anything you have?
No, it was a good primer for our new members, and I think the new campaign that you've been working on, it looks great. Like to see it live.
Yeah, we're excited about it. The goal is to shoot it in April, launch it in May, and run it for the summer. That's where we're headed, right, team? I'm looking at the Ambar folks because they're the ones that are going to make it all happen. They're the boots on the ground when it comes to shooting and production and all that fun stuff. So we have tight timelines, but I think we'll get there.
When you say launch it for the summer, what are you targeting?
May 4th is the media. That's the media plan right now. So yeah, if creative is, how much creative will be ready, we'll see. TV always takes a little bit of back and forth. We still have our launch ad. So if you haven't seen that, we'll happy to send that to you. But that's we call it the countdown ad. That's our award-winning one. That's sort of an ad that'll always be running. Next year we would like to refresh that one, but that was a pretty hefty production lift. So we need a new production. We need a new fiscal year to get into, so we have more production dollars for that one,
Sure.
but yeah. So this year we'll do the Cocoa Beach and Melbourne Palm Bay, and then next year, hopefully we'll refresh the countdown, but we've got that ad. So we can always run that until everything's ready to go, but we're hopeful we'll have most of it up in May. So with that, if there's nothing else, thank you guys, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, sorry for my absence. See you at the next meeting.
When do you think the convention center is gonna be?
So I will tell you what they have publicly said. And then quietly, I will tell you what I really believe. No. Yeah, they are trying.